Good morning, everybody. Today we will be having our class online. And again, I appreciate your flexibility and your understanding. Okay, with that, let's get into the deck. So we're going to be looking at participants and the actual court process. And the individuals, let's get from current slide, the individuals who are going to be key players to this is, of course, yourself, your attorney. You could have a paralegal. Paralegal is essentially a secretary for your attorney. Uh, what's nice about a paralegal, if they're good, is that they're substantially cheaper than your attorney. You'll have a registrar and the clerk in the court, and those are positions at the actual court itself. The probate court, you'll have a judge, and they will be making the ultimate decision for what will happen. You can represent yourself, and you can also hire somebody to represent you, and that would be your attorney. This person should have what's called a fiduciary duty. Remember, fiduciary, when we're thinking about it, is in reference to somebody who acts in good faith and is very trustworthy and is representing the best interests of the estate. So if you have an attorney just for the estate, they might not be looking out for your personal best interests, but the best interests of the estate itself. Okay. You can get requirements. You can get letters of administration just to demonstrate the authenticity. You could get a bond or a surety, which is a special type of bond. And I have another video all about sureties if you're interested. It's about protection of completion of the work, and it's an interesting type of bond. But these are really just to make sure that the estate is properly represented in court. Okay, again, your attorney, the attorney for the estate. And if there's contention and the heirs start to fight, heirs will have their own separate attorneys, but the attorney for the estate is looking out for the best interests of the estate and not the heirs or the beneficiaries. Okay. And their only job is to make sure that the estate, its will or trust, is executed according to the person's wishes, as explicitly stated in the will or the trust. Okay, our paralegal, I will do a lot of behind the scenes work. And again, it's nice to utilize a paralegal because you will be paying by the hour for all of this work, or the estate will be paying by the hour for all of this work. And you don't necessarily want to pay your lawyer that's $400 or $500 an hour for calling clients. These people are not lawyers. They are individuals who are doing the behind the scenes research. They're gathering the information. They're putting the information together. They follow the procedures. They do those types of things that are behind the scenes and really take a lot off of the plate of the actual attorney. The probate court. Some of the things that the probate court does is they make sure that the creditors are paid, any taxes are paid, and then there's the distribution of the gifts and the estate to heirs or beneficiaries. So really the probate court is looking just to execute everything that needs to happen. And probate, as we've discussed many times, is the act of executing that, the will. Your will can go to probate if the will isn't properly executed, or if you don't have a will. then your estate will go to probate. And this is where you'll have to utilize the court to make those distributions. The probate, their entire goal is to distribute the assets and the liabilities. And we've talked before about how if you set up, structure your trust, you can actually create a system where you have specific assets that are going to pay off specific liabilities. And again, everybody's favorite thing, when you contest a will, that's another way of saying you are suing the estate. Woo! And it is litigation, and litigation means you are in the court and it is a trial. Your goal for your clients as a CFP is to make sure that there is no contest for their estate. This is not good. It's only really beneficial is to the attorneys who make an hourly wage, right? As we had in our guest speaker, he came out and said that if you pay quite a bit up front for an attorney and they do a really good job drafting this trust, then you're in a situation where you really don't need to pay a lot of attorneys after the fact. So either way, you're going to pay for an attorney. It's just better to do it up front so that the bill will hopefully be less. And also then your wishes will be executed. Jurisdiction is in reference to the geographical location of what court hears what case. For example, if you are in Indiana and the estate is in California, the jurisdiction the California courts would take over that estate, which means you would have to come out California to make sure that that is executed. So this is, again, jurisdiction, physical locations. And then even within that jurisdiction, there's different types of courts. So for example, a traffic court is not going to hear your probate issue. So we're looking at very specific types of courts in specific geographical locations. The location, most locations for the longest time was the physical courthouse. Things have started to change. Some things can be done via Zoom and online, which is very beneficial for people who are outside of the jurisdiction. But traditionally, it has been in the courthouse. The domicile is whether the actual physical location of the home itself. And we can think about that as even if you're renting, if you've been renting and staying at that place for a long time, that will be where you're domiciled. Residence, a temporary place of dwelling. So, and we think about this if for an estate perspective, your domicile will probably be where you're buried or where your ashes are stored. Residence is where you're living. In rem, jurisdiction is over the actual physical property itself. An ancillary jurisdiction is the administration used to dispose and distribute the portion of the estate to other states. So if there's situations where we have parts of assets in one state and assets in another state, let's say you have a boat up in Wisconsin, but you live in Illinois, you would then have two different states and two different locations. And that concludes our session for this day. I look forward to seeing everybody on Wednesday. Thank you.